Middleweight champion Chris Weidman and former light heavyweight champ Vitor Belfort have been trying to meet for some time now, but once again, their matchup will have to wait. Slated to meet as the main event at UFC 184, that bout has again been rescheduled because Weidman sustained an injury in training. That makes it the third time this matchup has been pushed back. Like in UFC 173 and UFC 181, that means the co-main event between women's bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey and Cat Zingano becomes the main event. In the Ronda versus Cat Zingano women's bantamweight bout, Rousey, who is 10-0, and Zingano, who is 9-0, were supposed to be the coaches of the Ultimate Fighter 18, but Zingano tore her ACL and then her husband committed suicide, so she has had a lot going on outside the octagon. But now she finally gets her chance to take on Rousey, who has gone past the first round just once and has stopped all 10 of her fights. Zingano has stopped 8 of her 9 fights, and it will be interesting to see if she wants to go to the mat with Rousey, who has become renowned for her armbar technique. This could upstage the men's portion of the main event. In the Raquel Pennington versus Holly Holm women's bantamweight fight, Pennington, who is 5-4, and Holm, who is 7-0, were due to fight at UFC 181, but Holm had a neck injury, so Pennington ended up submitting Ashley Evans Smith. Holm brings her unbeaten record to the UFC, as this will be her promotional debut, and she was the first legacy women's bantamweight champion, as well as one of the best female boxers of all time. Pennington is well-rounded, but she might be better off taking this fight to the mat because standing up with Holm wouldn't be smart. In the Jake Ellenberg versus Josh Koscheck welterweight, this could be a loser leaves town match, as Ellenberg, who is 29-9, and Koscheck, who is 17-8, have both lost 3 in a row. Koscheck stepped in for Neil Magny, who was moved to UFC Fight Night 60, and after losing 2 fights in a row via KO or TKO, he might want to use his wrestling background to stay away from Ellenberg's punching power. Ellenberg is a decent wrestler as well, but he'll look to keep this fight on the feet and try to test Koscheck's suspect chin, although they were both knocked out by current welterweight champion Robbie Lawler in the past 2 years. In the Alan Juban versus Richard Walsh, Alan Juban, who is 10-3, and Richard Walsh, who is 8-2, will square off in a welterweight matchup. Juban is fresh off a disputed loss in Brazil, and he'll be happy to be in front of a more familiar and possibly friendly audience at the Staples Center at UFC 184. His loss to Warlley Alves was highly questionable, as the media and fans ripped apart the decision. Nonetheless, he's got to pick up the pieces. He still won 9 of his last 11 fights and will go up against Walsh, who has won 8 of his last 10 fights. In the Tony Ferguson versus Gleison Tibau lightweight, Ferguson, who is 17-3, who won the Ultimate Fighter 13, has quietly won his last 4 matches, and another would definitely push him up the pecking order in a loaded 155-pound division. The California native is extremely well-rounded with 9 KOs and 5 submission wins, and he is comfortable wherever the fight goes. He was supposed to fight Yancy Medeiros, who is 11-2 and 1 NC, but he's out, and Gleison Tibau, who is 33-10, steps in on short notice. Tibau has been on a bit of a roll of late, winning 5 of his last 6 bouts, including a split decision over Norman Park at UFC Fight Night 59. He has the most wins in UFC lightweight history and the 3rd most in any weight class.